What is up, guys? Zach in here. And if you are ready to see an inspirational story about wholesaling real estate, this is it. If you are young, if you are a teenager, if you are just getting started in this business, this is probably one of the most motivating stories I can give to you. I have Ivan Garcia here. Ivan is in the Inland Empire, and we're going to be talking about his journey starting out. He is 18 years old. He is whooping my butt at when I was 18 years old. And he did $100,000 month, and he is absolutely crushing it in the Inland Empire. And I feel like I don't want to take any more, time from me here because this is like your show here, Ivan. So, Ivan, thank you so much for coming on. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Pretty good. Pretty productive Thursday so far, but glad to be on, man. Appreciate you for having
Awesome,
me
man.
on.
Let's talk about it, dude. So, how
Yeah.
did you get started in real estate wholesaling?
So believe it or not, this was back when I was 16. So I didn't even start real estate first off. First off, it was Amazon FBA. So I did Amazon FBA for about a year and a half. I don't do it no more. But in the mastermind that I took, I pretty much met somebody that was in real estate wholesaling. And I've always, ever since I was a young kid, I mean, I grew up in Santa Ana, California, and I went to go live in Mexico at a really young age, around 3, 4 years old. So I started working in construction at that time. I mean, I wasn't forced to, but I mean, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I want to make an extra money on the side, to buy my shit. So I was already, helping building houses at a young age. So I've always, had that mentality like, okay, well, when I get older, I want to get into the real estate kind of game. I want to own some rental properties, build houses. I didn't know nothing about wholesaling, keep in mind. So when I was at this FBA mastermind and this guy, introduced me to it, we're, good buddies now still, but I was, mind blown, man. I was mind blown. So I did all my research I could, when I had just turned 18, I mean, 16, I'm sorry. I did what anybody would do, looked up on YouTube, how to make offers, how to get your first deal pretty much. And it was pretty much from there, pretty much from there, I fell in love with it, man. And once I got that first check, I was like, shit, I'm addicted.
Dude,
Been doing it
I
since.
I feel the same thing, man. When I started this business, that first deal is crazy. So let's talk about your first deal. So what market was your first deal in? Was this the Inland Empire?
No, so believe it or not, the first deal was actually in a state that I wasn't even targeting to. And the reason why is when I barely started, I was targeting Phoenix, Arizona.
Ooh.
And I did not get a deal. I didn't get a deal in Phoenix, Arizona. I only did one list out there. I, sent out a couple of tags. I cold called it and I didn't have any luck, but I had this one guy that had a deal in or a house in Washington, Aberdeen, Washington. And I mean, I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll take a look at it. And then pretty much I ended up finding somebody that was interested in buying it and, put the pieces together. And I think I made 12 grand on
Wow.
that first deal.
And
Yeah.
this was virtual, right?
This was all virtual. Yeah. Everything I do is virtual. Yeah.
Wow, man. Are you in Inland Empire right now?
So I'm in Orange County. So I actually own a couple of
Ooh.
Airbnbs out here in Orange County. Yeah. So I'm in Costa Mesa right now. And I mean, I've done one deal in Orange County and it was in Anaheim. And I don't dare touch it at all. If it's Airbnb, I'll go crazy. But if it's like wholesaling, I won't touch it at all.
I I mean, that's amazing. So you did that $12,000 deal for your first time, and then now
Yeah,
you got some other ones you've been working on. Eventually, 100K a month. I mean, how
exactly.
did you first get started? So how old were you when you got that Washington deal?
16 years old.
16. How did you do that at 16? Because everyone's saying, "Oh, you can't do it till you're 18 years old."
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of hack do you do?
So I mean, there's really no hack to it, man. I mean, just how I grew up. I mean, I didn't really have anything easy. I was always kind of taught like you got to go and fend for your own shit. I mean, at a young age, I was always paying my own bills, making my own food. The only thing that my parents would give me is a roof, right? I mean, and I was always working with my dad at a really young age. And I've always just had that mentality, like that go-getter mentality that I want better for myself and my family, right? So pretty much, I just did it, man. I mean, it was tough. I went on Zillow and I tried calling, fucking list. This was before COVID, so it wasn't as crazy. So I was trying to call for sale by owner, and I just got used to like getting rejected, being cussed out until I got the list, and then I kind of just went in, man. And I mean, I was always around older people as well. Like, I had a homie of mine in high school, and this guy's dad was he owned a fire sprinkler company. So I mean, I was always around them, and the way that they thought, the way that they talked, and it kind of just it grew on to me, and I was just said, fuck. I mean, if they could do it, I could do it too. And
Wow.
I mean,
And
I just
did
thought, yeah, I just stopped being a bitch, and I just did it. Simple as that. Pretty
I
much,
mean, some
man.
people got to hear it like that. So I commend you for it. I mean, did you sign the deal yourself when you were 16?
Yeah.
And they
So
gave you a
I
check?
didn't. So I put my dad's name under it, and I
Got it.
just posed as my dad. Like I didn't even tell my dad. Hopefully he doesn't watch this. But yeah, I didn't tell my dad. But fuck it. I mean, I still got paid.
Okay. Well, guys, for everyone watching, don't do that what I say is if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, of
You
course.
did it in a way that I don't think, I mean, it's possible, it works. And then you can deal with the money there. I just had my dad sign it. I just had him sign, but he believed in
Nice.
wholesaling. Obviously, he knew it was a good deal, but I got the money from it. So eventually you
I
turn
mean, I
18.
mean,
So,
I already had like, so I was doing Amazon FBA, so the LLC
oh,
that I had was established under my dad's name. So I mean, he was, if he
oh
would, I
yeah,
was yeah, he would have been cool with it. But yeah, first off, you need to get your parents, consent
perfect.
before you do it.
Awesome. And how did you scale that up from there?
So it was just, I mean, getting pretty much going to masterminds and learning from people that were at the level that I wanted to be at, to be honest, and just learning what they had to, what they knew compared to what I knew. Because I mean, I was always, my ego was so big, man. Like I was like, fuck, I cashed this big ass check, I'm up here. And once I started getting around people that were up here and I was down here, I was like, oh shit, okay, there's more to learn. It turns out I don't know everything. So when I started connecting with people like that, yeah, pretty much just started learning more elite stuff. I started learning how to work on my business, not in my business. And yeah, pretty much just went from there, man.
Yeah, dude, I went through the exact same thing. Like you start making 10K a month, you think you're like hot stuff. And then you
Yeah.
get with people that are making 100K a month.
Yeah.
And then you
Shit.
start making 100K a month. And then you got people making 1 million a month. Like
Really no
it's
money,
a
and then
never ending game, man.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
1,000%. I 100% agree, man.
but overall, it levels you up, iron sharpens iron. So I 100% agree with you. So you start scaling up from there. So I know how you did that, but like, what are some of the fundamental, like actionable steps that
Okay.
you took to go from there?
So pretty much what I did is, I mean, when I barely started getting deals, like my first deal I closed, I was a one man show, right? Of course, the second person I hired, other than me, was an acquisition manager.
Hmm.
So I pretty much trained up a buddy of mine, and we were cold calling. I was doing the cold calling. He was handling the acquisition. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, we could start affording some cold callers, hourly. And one of my good buddies of mine, I met him at literally the first real estate event that I went to, owns a call center as well. So, I mean, I got some, bilingual callers off of him as well. And pretty much I started with one cold caller, then I went to two cold callers. And then at that point, we were like, okay, look, well, let's go heavy on SMS. So we started text blessing a lot, pretty much. We started piecing, things together. So we ended up piecing up an acquisition. I ended up piecing an acquisition. Then I ended up piecing more cold callers, and then more cold callers. And it was, just pretty much building that good structure, getting to the core of it.
Okay. And so now you kind of scale up to where you're at now. So where are you at now in your real estate wholesaling business? Like give me kind of the lay of the land. Like what market are you using? What's your
Yeah.
budget, team, things like that?
Yeah. So budget a month. I mean, we're going anywhere from like 7 to 10 grand a month. On I'd say average, we're making around 80 to 100K a month. 100K would be a good month. Right now we're working on scaling that up to, by the end of the year, want to be around 180 to 200 a month. But pretty much, we go ahead and first thing, I mean, I'll kind of take you through a walkthrough, but we go ahead and we'll pull a list, and we're in 3 different markets. So our bread and butter is California, of course, certain parts of California, San Antonio, Texas, and then Atlanta, Georgia. So we'll pull a huge list from California, go ahead and have the callers call it up, of course, and then go ahead and text blast it as well on the side. So I'll have a VA go ahead and filter out through all the SMS or the text and upload them to our system, to our CRM. Our acquisition guys will go ahead and call them up. And yeah, pretty much as soon as we lock one up, pretty much send it out to our dispo manager, and dispo manager will dispo it out. Pretty simple.
Okay. And specifically for your marketing here. So what is the marketing looking like? Because you're getting quite a operation going. So you got to feed these people.
Oh yeah, of course. So like I said, once we bring on acquisition, like first off, when we hire an acquisition, we'll take him through a junior acquisition process. And what his process is pretty much just calling up old leads, follow up leads that are from like 2 3 months ago. Sometimes we'll even take them through like a 30 to 60 day process of just cold calling old lists that we have. So we go ahead and recycle lists a lot. We text blast a lot of the same lists, but when we're pulling new lists, we're pulling data anywhere from like, so I don't pull data like a huge list a month. So I'll pull it, I'll probably pull like 2 to 3 lists a month, anywhere from like 5 to 10,000 records. Like in the beginning of the week, we ended up pulling 80,000 records. and yeah, pretty much just hammering it out. Now obviously, I have more cold callers calling it up, but yeah, pretty much bring in the leads, and I'll just have them work on the leads.
Okay. And so the marketing. So what are your favorite lists when it comes to
Okay,
marketing now?
so unknown equity is a pretty good one. The big deal that I got was off a high equity. I don't really recommend it now, but unknown equity, absentee owner is always pretty good. I'm starting to do a lot of actually owner occupied. So we're hitting a lot of owner occupied, owner occupied and absentee owner, one of those two, you're bound to get a list. I mean, if you pull a list and you keep hammering it, either you're calling it yourself or you're text blasting it, you're bound to get a list. Obviously you don't want to just go broad and do that, but another good one that I do is properties that are built before 1980 or 1970. Like older properties, obviously not too old, but those are some filters that I like to use.
Okay. And I know a lot of virtual wholesaling people are looking at you. Like
Hmm.
the big question I think here is like,
Yeah.
how did you choose some of these markets? Because San Antonio, it seems very strategic with you, like it's doing well, but like, how did you come up with a market like that, or even the Inland Empire?
Yeah, so Inland Empire, I mean, when I got started in wholesaling, I met one of my boys, and he was already wholesaling as well. I think he was wholesaling when he was 18 as well. He's a little bit older now, but he started off in the not in the Inland Empire so much, but more so like Stockton area, like kind of North Cal, like the
Okay.
lower end of North Cal. So I was like, okay, let me try to target that, but not too up there. So I want to hit. So I started off like in Santa Maria County. I didn't go too well, so I went a little bit lower, and I just started going to masterminds, and I started meeting buyers. I was like, okay, well, this is our buying criteria. This is what we're buying, and I was like, okay, well, let me kind of do reverse engineering, and I pretty much started targeting areas that I know buyers already that I had personal relationships with, personal connections with, and started pulling lists from that area.
Okay. And with your SMS, who are you using for that?
So I'm using a platform called Slingshot SMS. I'm not
Okay.
sure if they're still around yet, but I mean, it was back in 2020 when I got my account, and yeah, pretty much just been using them since.
Okay.
I tried
And
different ones, but that's like the one that's always worked for me the most.
okay. And how are you constantly coming up with new ad copies for the texting? Because it's a cat and mouse game. Like you got one that works, and then the
Yeah,
delivery rate goes really down. Then you gotta get new one. Like, who's in charge in your business on coming up with that ad copy, and making it good?
so it's me, believe it or not, it's all me. So what I do on the text messaging is I set up the campaigns, I set everything up, and then once I hit play is I'll go ahead and have my VA come in and filter
Mm.
everything out. But as far as like figuring out new things, just testing things out, man. I mean, just being creative. When I first started, I mean, I started with the typical, hey, like the text was like 3 sentences long, so long, and you got to keep it short and simple. Now that I know, but when I started, it was like, hi, my name is, I'm reaching out to you by your house, pretty much just a basic thing. So obviously I learned that didn't work. So I started narrowing it down, and then I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I want to keep it really short and brief, but still let them know why I'm reaching out to them. So now, I mean, a really good one that we use is, we'll ask a question, and once they hit us back, we'll go ahead and just call them on the spot, or if it's something that we could still continue to keep the conversation going on the text, we try to call them as soon as there's interest. But yeah, we'll just keep the conversation flowing. But just overall, just being creative and trying to keep it brief and simple, but straight to the point.
Ivan, so when you are texting somebody and
Yeah.
you're trying to get kind of a hold if it's going to be a good deal or not, someone texts you, maybe I want to sell. Who are
No.
you? What do you want to do? What's the best indicator of finding if that's actually going to become a deal or not?
So to be honest, like I said, we try to keep it really short on the text messaging platform. Not only because you're getting charged per message that they send you, but we just figured out that okay, once we get them on the phone, when we see the slightest interest that they're interested in selling, we'll go ahead and I'll have my acquisition guy call them up. So pretty much how the process works is I'll go ahead and set up the campaign, I'll hit play, and it'll start sending out messages. So most of the time, when the business day's over, I'll have a virtual assistant from the Philippines. I mean, their time is way different than ours. So I think it's like daytime when it's nighttime here. So I'll have her pretty much go ahead and filter them all out and go ahead and text back. So the text message is a question pretty much signifying, I mean, do they still own the house, or are they still living in it? Are they familiar with it, etc.? And most of the time, the response is going to be like, if they're not interested, they'll just be like, no, stop texting me, do not call. The people saying that aren't interested, but the ones that show some interest will be like, yes, like that's my house. What can I do for you? Some will even tell you straight off like how much you're gonna offer me, or some will even make be like, I want this much for the property. So it's our VA's job to pretty much go and filter through the ones that did answer, pretty much saying, yeah, it's our property, or we want this much. And text him back saying, okay, perfect. Want to see if you'd consider an offer on it, or want to see if you'd consider selling. Pretty basic, we keep it really basic. And if they say yes or anything signifying that, yeah, they'd consider an offer, I'll have my VA go ahead and upload the lead, their name, the address, the phone number, and some notes onto our CRM. And the next day I'll have my acquisition just go ahead and give them a call and try to see if we can lock somebody up. But so the crazy thing is that $87,000 deal I got, it was like kind of like a back and forth on the actual platform with the seller. It was an older person. I mean, not super old, but she was, I mean, around 60s, 70s, and super nice lady. I mean, she was a realtor already as well, so she kind of already understood the game. So I reached out to her, and she flat out told me her whole the whole situation with the property, what was going on in the text, which I found kind of, I was like, was this too good to be true? Okay, let me kind of keep going with this. Like, kept texting her back. 2 days after, she texts back, and it was on my bad too. I would like sometimes lag on it as well, so I'd text her back like a day after. So it was like a 6 day process of just texting back and forth until I figured out that she was interested. And I was like, okay, well, let me call her up because I want to see if it's true or not. So I called her up personally, and I actually still have the video till this day, of me locking her up. And then I locked her up, and then I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is a lot of money. And then, like, I think fast forward 2, 3 weeks after, I price dropped her for another 20 grand. And I got it accepted, and yeah.
Jeez, okay. So yeah, I mean, you did an $87,000 deal, another 15, so you did $100,000 a month at 18. This is nuts. Like I want to break that deal down. So
Yeah.
you texted the 87 one, and what was the $15,000 deal?
So the $15,000 deal was literally, so both of these deals were in the mountains. I'm not gonna say what particular cities they
Yeah,
are, but
don't.
in the mountains, pretty close cities. And the 15K deal, same thing. I got it off that same list, and it was literally the same thing. I mean, the guy told me I wouldn't sell for anything under 200,000. And so I texted. So the text that I sent on that campaign was something like, "Oh, like, I'm a landlord in the area looking for more properties in the area. Would you consider an offer on it?" Pretty basic. And both of those responded. First, the 87 one gave me their whole, the whole story, and then the 15K one was like, Ivan, Paul. He was like, Ivan, this is Paul. I'm not gonna take anything under 200,000. And I was like, okay, that's fair. You want to hop on a call? Like, do you have time to hop on a quick call, real quick, to discuss it? And he was like, yeah, go ahead and give me a call. At 200, it was already a good deal. So I was like, oh, well, let me try to see if I can make more on it. So I ended up locking him up. Total ended up being like 15 grand, net profit on the deal. And yeah, pretty much just, that's how that one came.
I mean, that's amazing. You're going here locking the stuff up like that. I mean, what are some of your like processes and tricks when it comes out here to locking these deals up virtually? Because I think it's a
Yeah.
mindset block for a lot of people. Like, oh, I can't get a DocuSign or .loop to get signed. What are they
Mhm.
gonna? What if they ask me where do I live? Like, how
Yeah.
is your virtual wholesaling acquisitions process?
So pretty much, believe it or not, it's funny that you say that, because we had a deal that we're going to make 30 grand on 2 months ago in November. And just because of that, the seller was super old school. I had to overnight her purchase and sales agreements. And then we had an addendum that I had to overnight her. Total, I ended up spending like $200. It turns out like she didn't even want to sell at the end of the day. So I was like, wow.
Ah,
Well, I mean, sometimes, those things are going to happen, so you can't obviously put yourself down when that does happen. But I mean, it's pretty easy, man. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. I mean, you're getting in front of these people that, I mean, if they own a house, more than likely they own a phone. If they own a phone, they probably own an email. So yeah, just go ahead and ask for an email, and then just DocuSign them a purchase and sales agreement. As far as getting pictures or getting inside, or walking the property, boots on the ground, a really good trick. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people know this, but this is something that I came up with on my own. A couple of my buddies know it too, but if you can't find anybody, like, let's say for example, I'm trying to wholesale a deal in Florida and I'm in California, I'm not gonna have one of my guys go out there, right? So what I'll do is I'll go on whatever city it is, and I'll look up local handyman in that area. And if I don't do it, I'll have my assistant go ahead and call each one up and see who's available to go and take pictures of the property for us. And just literally sell them or cash out them $100, and they'll get that taken care of. So that's another really good, gem that you could use if you're trying to, get boots on the ground of the property. And then as far as buyers walking in, I mean, the buyers are more than likely already out there in whatever market that you're in. and yeah, they'll pretty much just go and walk it, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much how the acquisition side works, you know.
Okay, so you're locking these deals. I mean, it's insane. I mean, what's one of your biggest things you use to get these price reductions? Like what's kind of the conversation with that seller? Because you could squeeze an extra 10, 15, 20,000 on
Yeah.
some of these deals.
So pretty much what I'll do is I'll log up the property, and I'll pretty much set up a walkthrough, like a week, or I mean, if it's ASAP and I have a buyer ready to go and I'm already making good money, I'm not gonna get greedy. It's all good, you know. We'll go ahead and just have the buyer walk it. If he's interested, go ahead and close on it. But for example, let's say I can't find a buyer, up until like a week and a half. Okay, well, let me go ahead and schedule a second walkthrough or a second inspection with the seller. I'll go ahead and go out there, or I'll have somebody go out there, take pictures of the property, come back, and then pretty much just wait until like a day or 2 days after and kind of let them know, hey, you know, this came back to us. Our contractors, you know, ran the numbers a little bit wrong. They told us that instead of the repairs that are going to cost us X amount, you know, we're going to be at this amount. And you know, we're still interested in the property, of course. You know, we're ready to go, we're ready to close, you know, close of escrow, still looking at the same date. However, you know, my partner did come back to me at, you know, and pretty much just tell them whatever price you're at, you know. More than likely you'll probably get it, you'll probably get that price, like you won't get it accepted, but they'll probably give you a counter, you know. And
Yeah.
it's good, you know, because you want to hit them 5, 10K under, like that 20 grand price drop. The first price drop I ever did was 10 grand, and I was trying to get them at 20 grand because I knew I was gonna be at 10 grand, right? So she was like, okay, let's just meet in the middle. And I don't know what the numbers were. I mean, this was, you know, a long time ago, but ended up being, you know, 10 grand extra net on my end. You know, I was gonna make 30 grand on the deal, and I ended up pulling 40 grand on it, you know, because I added an extra 10 grand on the price drop. So that's pretty much how I go about the price drop. I try to get them a little bit lower than where I want to be at. If, you know, you play your cards right and everything goes good, you might even get it accepted, you know?
Wow. I think a lot of people start doing that. Obviously, don't price reduct every single seller, but there's
Exactly.
deals like that where it works. The next part here, where I think a lot of people get stumped because I don't see a lot of content like this on YouTube. But it's like when you are training a junior acquisitions rep or an
Yeah.
acquisitions rep, what is their script or what is their like slick closing line? Like when it's time to get to the chase and get that deal done. Like when you're
Mhm.
talking to someone over the phone, like what does the process look like?
So a junior acquisition, I won't give him access to my CRM. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and send him anywhere from 10 to 15 leads a day, and his job is
Hmm.
to make at least 5 to 10 offers a day.
Ooh.
So how he'll go about it, he'll go ahead and, you know, call up the seller. Like, I have one lead opened up. His name is Matthew. Let's say Matthew is like from a lead like from 3 4 months ago. He'll call him up pretty much saying, "Hey Matthew, how's it going? This is, you know, whatever his name is. I'm just reaching out to you because you spoke with one of our reps or one of our, you know, managers here at, you know, the company name. And, you know, it's been a while since we last got a hold of you. We just wanted to see if you're still interested in selling your property or not." And if they say no, okay, no problem, you know, pretty much just hit them with the objections of no, you know, if they have any other properties down the line, etc. If they say yes, okay, good. And you know, they'll be like, okay, you know, good. Glad I got a hold of you. And then pretty much say last time you left off, and they'll look at the notes on on the CRM, pretty much saying, you know, what was the last thing we spoke about, or what the status was with that lead, you know, what had happened, what was the reason they didn't close on it. And they'll bring a topic up, and then, you know, they'll talk about the topic a little bit, and then they'll go ahead and be like, okay. And then I also see that you mentioned that the property needed, you know, and started labeling down some repairs on it, you know, needed, you know, a new roof. Is that still the case, sir? Also, you said that the bathroom was pretty outdated. Is that still the case? And then let's say they had tenants, or if it was vacant. You also mentioned that the property is vacant. Is that still the situation? And, you know, pretty much what they're doing there is just, it's pretty basic. I mean, just getting down information of the house, trying to see what the condition is like, if it's still in the same condition as the notes were. Because some of these leads are from like 4 5 6 months ago. You know, like maybe even years ago. You know, so we're trying to see how the property is looking like. You know, and that'll be the first call. The first call is literally just calling them up, retouching with them, you know, gathering information of the property, see if anything has changed or not, and trying to get a price out of them, you know, pretty much just trying to get a price out of them if they're still at that price that they were asking before, or if, you know, something has changed. And the second call, you know, they're probably calling back in 20 to 30 minutes is with an offer. What they'll say there is, you know, pretty much saying that we're interested in the property. You know, they spoke with their upper hand, whether it be a manager, whether it be their boss, etc., their partner. And then we'll go ahead and have them list up like 2 to 3 comps that sold around 60 to 70% of the ARV, something that's similar to their house, of course. And then, pretty much let them know how we're going to close the property and just make them the offer. You'll get 1 out of 2 responses. No, yes, no, pretty basic. You'll get
Okay.
more
And
no's, you'll get more no's than yes, but
yeah. Okay. And are you going for a no in the beginning? Like, are you giving an offer, or are you having them give you the offer first?
so the first conversation is kind of just to recollect and kind of pick up where we last left off.
Mhm.
If there isn't an asking price already on the CRM, which sometimes they're not because not every seller is going to give you an asking price. We want to try to get an asking price out of them. Worst case scenario, we don't get an asking price, no problem. It's not the end of the world. We'll still make them an offer. But if we do get an asking price, what we do is once we run the numbers, once we figure out an ARV and we run our formula, and we get our MAO, before we get our MAO and subtract our assignment fee, we get a sell price. That's the price that you're going to more likely sell it for. So if the asking price is over our sell price, we'll just try to deduct 5 to 10 grand under our sell price. Now, if the MAO is under our sell price, we'll go ahead and lock them up at that price right then and there. Whether we're making a grand on it, whether we're making 100 grand on it.
Okay. And so you got that. So let's kind of talk about the dispositions process.
Yeah.
So now you got a deal locked up. What do you have, like a dispo team? Like how are you getting these deals sold?
So I'm actually training another dispo guy right now, but I have a disposition manager. So there's a lot of ways, and it's funny that you bring this up. I was literally on a Zoom call before you called me, training the disposition guys. So there's a couple ways that we do. Main way, I mean, pretty basic way. Everybody teaches this. Pull a cash buyers this and that certain area, with that certain property type, or you could just pull a cash buyers list in that area in general, and just go ahead and skip trace all the mailing addresses, cold call it. I'll have a VA cold call it. And then I'll go ahead and text blast it, and I'll have a VA, filter out through all the buyers, and then we'll go ahead and call up every single buyer individually that we text blasted and see if they're interested or not. Once we get their email, and once we vet them out, pretty much get a proof of funds, see how fast they could close, etc. Then we'll go ahead and email them out the deal. If they're interested, cool. We'll get them in a walkthrough. If not, then on to the next, and then add them to our cash buyers list because we know they're still buying. They just weren't interested in that one. So those are the two basic ways. Another really, really really good way that is pretty slept on, to be honest, is posting them on Facebook. Joining groups and posting them on Facebook. A lot of people probably talk about this, and it's true. People talk about it for a reason. Like I had a deal in San Antonio that I could not move at all, and I posted it on Facebook. In like 3 days, I got blown up, and this one person bought it. I ended up making 5 grand on the deal that I thought was dead. So Facebook is really good. We sometimes post them on Craigslist. Another really good one that we use is, we'll go on Google and look up, sell your house fast for cash. Go ahead and have my disposition manager call some of those up, see who are wholesalers or who are actual buyers, and send them the deal there, or just JV. If I can't sell a deal in a market that I know one of my boys or one of my partners is in already, yeah, I'll just go ahead and JV on the deal.
Awesome. So you scale this up 100K months, and obviously, like, not every month's gonna be 100K, but in 3 years now, you're gonna be laughing about it. I only did 100K a month, laughing about it. I remember laughing making 10K a month. I thought that was amazing, and then you're always scaling up. So it's amazing at your age you're able to do this. What are some of the mindset shifts that you had to have at your age?
Yeah.
To go from 10 to 20 to where you're at now per month for wholesaling skills.
So to be honest, it was just, to be honest, it was just a matter of growing up. When I was young, I probably had a smaller mind. And when I hit 17, I was like, okay, I want to make more money. When I was 17, I bought my first dream car. And, it's nothing too crazy, but for me, it was a dream car. So that's kind of what shifted me. Not only did I have to make more money because the payments were going to be a little bit more, but just in overall growing up, getting around people that are already up here. Like now I'm hanging out with people that are like in their mid 30s, in their mid 40s that are, multi millionaires. Just getting around people like that, pretty much just getting around people that you want to be where they're at, whether it be that they're in that same field in that business, or whether it be that they own a completely different business that has nothing to do with it. But, you guys could still, pick each other's brains. So, getting around the right people, 1,000%, that's probably number one. And then you know, just looking at my family and be like, if I'm making 10K a month, obviously, I'm not going to be able to give my family their dream life, with 10K a month. I got to up my shit up. I got to up my game, and then just reaping the benefits. I mean, once you get that first check, once you start getting that 20K, 50K, 60K month consistently, it's
Hmm.
pretty crazy. You know, your mind kind of shifts on what more you could do, you know. So that's some of the things that shifted in my mind, you know.
Wow. I mean, that's impressive. I'm beyond impressed from you right now, and
You're
I love your operations you're getting now. And I mean, it's going to be impressive what's going to be happening in the future for you. And yeah, I love it, man. So, like, what are you trying to do in the future? Like, what are your goals from now? Like, you're at where people want to be at when they're 30, 40, 50. I mean, where do you see yourself in the future here?
So in the near future, scaling my wholesaling company to around 200K a month, and that's towards the end of this year. I want to get started on some flips as well, using other people's money, and then also doing own rentals. So I do Airbnb out here in Orange County as well, and Airbnb is crushing it. So if I could do the Burr method with Airbnbs, it's game over, man. So owning a bunch of rentals as far as like in the short term. Long term wise, obviously already having all the companies automated, Airbnb automated, um, wholesaling automated, flipping, focusing more on flipping, and then just pretty much just getting a lot of trying to grow my cash flow every single month.
Dude,
Some
you
other
got it,
things.
man.
Mhm.
Ivan, thank you so much for coming on. I've seen here it's CEO Prolific is your handle. If anyone wants to hit him up for JV deals in Atlanta, Inland Empire, and San Antonio, hit him up, and hopefully you can work with Ivan and get some deals done. But Ivan, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any parting thoughts for everyone listening before we hop off?
Yeah, I mean, just when you're trying, I mean, there's a lot of people that are probably watching you trying to get their first deal. I mean, I've seen some people come up on your podcast, and one piece of advice that I'd give you guys is just go out there and just do it. I mean, just literally just do it. I mean, if you have a list and you paid money for the list, think about how much money you spent on the list. Whether it be, you're gonna keep calling it up until you get a deal, whether it be, you keep texting until you get a deal, but probably like how to actually get your first deal legit is pull a list, pull a good list, not just pull a random ass list, and text blast it if you don't have time. If you have time, call it. If you don't have time, but you have some money, go ahead and text it out and keep texting it out. Filter out the numbers that obviously tell them, don't call them back. And the ones that, don't answer, keep texting them with different phone numbers and you'll get a deal, 1000% you'll get a deal.
Definitely, man. Ivan, thank you so much.